Good evening, folks, and welcome back to another visit at my bus stop. This is another episode of Jester's Privilege with James Patrick. I am your host, the man previously mentioned. Um, Boy, oh boy, do I have a show planned today for us, folks. There's um, been all sorts of things we're going, all sorts of things in my mind. Since the last time I sat down with you. Well, to be truthful, I did get about halfway through this episode once already, and then my phone started ringing on my nightstand. It turned out to be a call of good nature, and I was glad that I um took it. But it did pull me away from finishing the episode, so not that uh, you ever would have known about that episode had I not brought it up, but there you go. I do apologize. Um, but that's neither here nor there. We are here now, right now. How are you doing, folks? How am I doing? How am I doing? I'm doing good. Doing good, all things considered. Um, I'm a bit of a one for long shots. I do enjoy me a good Hail Mary. It's kind of about where I sit right now. Um, and I'm okay with that. Uh, Norm Macdonald, and uh, I'm sorry for typing in the middle of this, but this is just really important. I had this brought up at the beginning of the other episode. I remember that now. Uh, but I didn't bring it up now, and now I want it. I apologize. How are you folks doing? Anyways, um, all right, I have it. Uh, as for my gambling, it's true I lost it all a few times. That's because I always took the long shot and it never came in. But I still have some time before I cross that river. And if you're at the table and you're rolling them bones, and there's no money in playing it safe, you have to take all your chips and put them on the double six and watch as every eye goes to you, and then to those red dice doing their wild dance in freezing time before finding the cruel green belt. I've been lucky. I've been lucky, says the great Norm MacDonald. Now, that resonates with me on a deep level. It does. What is life but a long shot? What is gambling but what we play all day? I was exposed, and maybe other people have recognized this, but we're kind of in a culture right now that, well, big surprise. There's a lot of hedonistic culture right now. And, gambling is a part of that. I mean, I can't even watch a YouTube video without there being a DraftKings logo on a hot dog flying through the air. So, what are you gonna do? That's the world we live in, folks. With that being said, and all the cards on the table, no pun intended, maybe that could also be considered one of my vices. I do have a tendency to put some game money on a game here or there, or whatever. The point is the interesting thing about gambling that um or about people that gamble is more so the thing that reigns true through their personality. Like, listen, some people will risk it all if it means that they can just stay in the fight. And sometimes the fight is just enough, you know. But then what's the fight, you know? And now I'm going to kind of uh, sway into a different thought. That's just kind of been on my mind as of late. If you're unfamiliar with Norm Macdonald, he's a great comedian. Um, Not just great in the sense of like he was really good, but I mean like he was a great. He was one of the greats. He's since passed away. I believe this was a couple years ago now, it seems. But he had a thing for gambling, and you know, he would accumulate a fortune and then lose it all, and then again and lose it all, and that was just his thing, you know. But he was also a simple man, Norm Macdonald. Um, Albeit he was relatively successful if you neglect the last 15 seconds of what I just said about him losing all of his money a couple times. But, um, you know, from the outside, it at least seems that he always had money coming in, but he lived a very, some could say, minimalist life, right? Uh, he had a son named Dylan, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe he was with his mother at one point, but as the Norm I'm talking about now, he wasn't. He lived alone. He lived in a small apartment. Excuse me. Within walking distance to everything. Uh, or if it wasn't within walking distance, he would essentially like con other comics into giving him rides places, pretty much. And how are you supposed to say no to that? Like I said, this is one of the all-time greats. So if you're just a comic and then this, and if anyone knows, you know, Norm Macdonald, that is, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's like, imagine Norm, hey kid, can I get a ride? I don't know. You can't say no to that. Um, but he would read and uh, he would do comedy and he would gamble on sports, but that was kind of his thing, you know. You have your rest and you have your learn and you have your play. And that was his holy trinity. And okay, I feel like almost I don't really know where I was going with that, but it's a simple life, and I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that, but it's been on my mind as of recently, so I just wanted to bring it up. I had something else I wanted to read to you folks, but it seems that I've misplaced it. This isn't out of the ordinary for me. Not out of the ordinary for me. What the hell did I do with it? Well, it would have been amazing, but it's gone. I'll find it, don't worry. Dude, did I really lose it? Oh, here we go. Zoltar speaks. My sister and I, last night, I went over to her house and we hung out for a little bit, her little apartment. Um, or I'm sorry, let me pause. To wrap up my last thought, as it takes me 5 minutes to wrap up any thought. Sorry, I have I because I started an episode like I said, I have so much that I want to get into this one that I'm trying to kind of put it all together, but some of these pieces don't fit, and that's okay. We're moving on from the long shots. The most interesting thing to me about being involved and around people that are gambling is that we all have, and now I'm speaking with we because I suppose I involve myself with this culture, but dude, there's no quit. And that's, I mean, of course, that's the last thing you want to hear from a gambler, like someone who gambles. It's like you should quit. And of course, and I'm not saying even the people that I'm around are irresponsible gamblers or anything. I'm not speaking to anyone's habits, nor good or bad. Um, you will probably lose it all. Um, but what is losing it? You know, at least you're in the fight. Anyways, that's pretty much what I wanted to say about Norm Macdonald and that. He's a very inspiring man to me. He lived a very simple life, and he understood the value in internal battles, regardless of what could outside be deemed as a gambling addiction. Maybe I'll speak more on that some other time, but now I feel like I've rambled and tried to get off topic too much. I'm gonna go. Back to Zoltar Speaks. My sister and I went over to her small little apartment in downtown Portland, and we hung out for a bit. And then I popped the question, as I always do. Is there any trouble to get into around here? Is there anything fun to do? And everything she said, as I always do after asking that question, I tell her I don't want to do it. To be fair, I did have laundry to do, so I was kind of just asking out of like mischievous, just to see what kind of shenanigans there were. And then I tried to set boundaries when they all sounded gay, so I shouldn't have asked. But um, but anyways, we ended up going to this little. It's like this little. It's essentially vending machines. They're vending machines, but they're like small pastries. Small pastries. I have no way of bringing it up for you folks. We're gonna, here down the line, I'm gonna figure out a way that I can have things that I'm able to show. That way, maybe we're all on the same page. Not that it really matters, but I think maybe it would be better. Anyways, but they make these little pastries and then they put them in boxes and it's like vending machine like that. So it's not a vending machine in terms of like soda and like Doritos, but it's like handmade goods. And they're outside a shop that's normally open during the day. At night, it's closed, but you can get it at the vending machine. And next to those vending machines, they had a Zoltar. Anyways, we got two really nice pastries. I've cotton mouth like a motherfucker. I really apologize. We got two really nice pastries out of the vending machine. They were un fatum and what was the other name? Un fatum and Shazam, maybe? I don't know. One was like a chocolately thing, and then the other was a amaretto type. I don't, they were very good. They were very good. It was very fun. And then it's so fun to be able to like do small things like that with people. I just kind of realized that, and I would like to share that with you all. But 'cause I always say, or like, admittedly, I do spend a lot of time alone. I do spend a lot of time alone. So when you're alone, it's really easy to kind of get in your own head and, like, oh, I'm so, what is a good word? I guess the word would maybe be lonely. Um, I'm not really lonely. I'm just alone right now. Because then when I think about that, like, me and my sister just, you know, how can I be alone when I love my sister very much. But then there was this Zoltar machine, and I'll show this to you one more time, just in case you didn't get a good look, folks. Ignore the stoner nails. It is what it is. Do what we can around here. Whatever. Uh, and then this is the other side. And I'll read it to you, but this is really the cool part. Here, let me block myself with it so maybe it focuses. It's a dude looking in his face in the mirror. It's about kind of about self-perception, which is kind of almost to some end what this. Anyways, let me read this to you. Oh, for the powers the gifts give us to see ourselves as others see us. Bobby Burns. And then Zoltar reads, well, my dear outspoken one, you are so quick to criticize others. Did you ever stop to analyze yourself? You are a very sensitive person and a very critical one. You have a very sharp tongue, which may cause unhappiness to others. You are of a generous disposition, and knowingly would not hurt anyone. You have a keen mind. Try to improve it. Your best friends like you for your ready wit. Try to cultivate a red-haired person. Therein lies a great deal of happiness for you. See, it's very interesting that I get this, and our buddy Carl Jung would describe this maybe to some degree as a synchronicity, correct? And why would you say that? Well, if you've been here with us before, you may have heard me use some of these terms. And see, these are some of the, and you could say these are pretty blanket terms. Or maybe not blanket terms, rather, but commonly used terms. I don't really think so. Well, let's get into it. Disposition. If you listen to the last episode, towards the end of it, I was talking about this idea of a disposition, and I didn't know why I was saying it, but it felt right, so I'm gonna say it. And it just kind of is interesting that when I was reading it with my sister, we were kind of just like freaking out. But it's weird that that sticks out, as well as you have a very sharp tongue. Now, I have that term sharp tongue is literally, and I guess anyone could say that, oh, well, that is literally something I've used to describe myself, but uh, these ideas have been major themes, like, in my notebooks and things like that, so, um, the third one being cultivate a red-haired person. Now, when I was first going through the Zoltar, let's read it again. Well, my dear outspoken one, you're so quick to criticize others. Did you ever stop to analyze yourself? You are a very sensitive person and a very critical one. At about this point, I was like, I mean, true, like, all of this kind of makes sense. Thanks, stupid Zoltar on the street. Not stupid, but, inanimate object. Like, of course you hold fortune. Some fortune of people giving you money for you to spit out bullshit tickets. But that's what I was thinking at that point. You have a very sharp tongue, and like that kind of shocked me. Okay, that's one. You have a very sharp tongue, which may cause unhappiness to others, and that started to get me think, maybe Zoltar did give this just for me. You are of a generous disposition, and knowingly would not hurt anyone. And at this point, I literally looked over at my sister and I said, "What the fuck? These are both things that I like." And then I was like, "Okay, let me finish." Uh, You have a keen mind. Try to improve it. Your best friends like you for your ready wit. Try to cultivate a red-haired person. What does cultivate a red-haired person? You know what? Maybe we should see that. What does the term "try to cultivate a red-haired person" even mean? Because and then I'll tell you. Well, try to cultivate a red-haired person. To me, that would mean, well, I'm a red-haired person, and so if I'm trying to um, how do you say? If I'm always trying to find myself, or if this show is about, you know, trying to break down these concepts and ideas to better uh, have an understanding of where I stand, you know, wouldn't that be cultivating a red-haired person? But it also, um, it doesn't mean anything. It's Zoltar. So this was directly meant for me. Can you believe that, folks? Well, you find out something new every day. Zoltar specifically printed that for me, and my best friends love me for my ready wit. So here we are today, folks. We've probably been talking for about 20 minutes now. Don't know what we've talked much about, but I bring up the Zoltar and the synchronicities within that to say, And to also kind of wrap this back into like how can I ever be alone when I have that memory of my sister and I that I cherish so dearly now, but um take a moment. Take a moment throughout your day, you know. And you know what? Pause and then we'll get back to the story. Take a moment throughout your day. I just said that again so I can remember where I was at. A lot of the times in the show I lure to ideas. I'm going to talk more specifics for you that way. And you know what? That's going to take some work from me because that's a little bit vulnerable, but I'm going to try to, when I talk about these stories, we're going to be more specific and use real examples from my life to better get across my ideas. Take a moment throughout your day. And you know, people could say that me reading this Zoltar fortune and finding some sort of interpersonal meaning from a fortune I got, essentially, I don't even know how you'd say it. From a man-made thing inside an automated thing. The only reason I ended up at my sister's house, and listen, I'm broke as a joke right now, folks. We're going we opened the show with 10 minutes talking about gambling. I'm talking about Hail Marys, but we're going for it all. Otherwise, someone welfare check me if you don't hear from me by Monday. What was I saying? Fuck. I so apologize about that. Hold on 2 seconds. I'm broke as a joke and sold my PS5. Filed for hood bankruptancy. And then I had a little bit of cash on me. I did the irresponsible thing because the only reason I sold my PS5 is because I needed money for bills. So naturally, I bought a 12 pack and a pizza. And I only bought a 12 pack because originally, okay, and this is where we're tying it all in, folks. I promise you. So I was only with my sister because I said, Papa needs something to wet his whistle. Do you have any liquor hidden away? And she said, I maybe have like 3/4 of a shot of pineapple Bacardi. Fuck. All right. Well, I'll go take the. But then I started to think to myself, I'm driving and from my house to downtown Portland is probably about 20 minutes, 23 minutes or so. So I was like, I'm driving all this way for 3/4 of a shot, and that's not enough for me. So I might as well get a 12 pack of. And for the record, I'm drinking cowboy cocktails. That's the shit. My nails are really dirty. I need to shower. It's been a long week, folks. Bear with me. So I needed that because the 3/4 of the shot wasn't gonna give me. Originally, I thought I was gonna be recording this episode last night when I was a little bit tipsy, but I just got sad and went to bed naturally, as the Irish fellow does. Um, and you know what? This is something else, and maybe this is an unpopular opinion. There's nothing that sobers me up better than a nice drive home. So the only reason I'm with my sister is because I wanted to do something, essentially to hurt myself. You know, I was kind of upset because, um, well, I didn't want to admit to myself I was upset, but my feelings were manifesting in me buying alcohol for no reason. So, by and large, I was upset and just went to bed. And then I get a wonderful memory, And then I find myself, and realistically, I was already kind of drinking, so, and after the first drink, everything's kind of a yes, right? But so I'm already drinking, and I was still saying like, no, I really have to go home and like do my laundry because I had work today, being tomorrow when I really needed to leave. I have work tomorrow, so I really need to go home and finish doing my laundry. Um, but fuck it, we can drive and go to a vending machine stop for 5 minutes, and through that, I find this wonderful fortune that um, reinstates a lot of ideas. And why would a fortune reinstate a lot of ideas? You must be crazy. Well, it only does that because there's so many of these things that actually take meaning to me. So take a moment throughout your day and look for those things, and then I'll give you a flip side of the coin. This is all kind of on the category of synchronicities. I've kind of been delving into this. It's pretty interesting to me, but um, that same night, I'm drinking. And I'm sad, so I'm not coming in here to record this, I've now decided, and I've stuffed my face with what's left of the pastries from being with my sister. And uh, I'm taking the trash out of my car, and my car I park on the hill outside of my apartment complex because my roommate is uh, has superiority. She gets the parking spot. She gets the parking spot. I leave the parking spot for her. So I park on the hill, the street parking outside of our apartment complex. That's also where I smoke, and so it's just convenient to leave the car there. But by and large, it's probably like maybe like a 2-minute walk back to my apartment. So I'm carrying the trash out of my car, and I'm kind of tipsy. Actually, by this point, I'm probably drunk off of cowboy cocktails. Um, and as I'm walking back, um, we all go through hard shit, right? And sometimes you have to think about it, process it, go through it, sit there and accept that this is what I feel. And maybe I feel fucking miserable, but that's just what it is. And then it gets to a point where if you keep sitting on it, you're no longer processing it, it's just negatively affecting you. You're dwelling on it. And so as I'm walking back from the hill to my apartment through the complex and I'm carrying the trash, I kept rehashing this thing that um, the the situation that I really wish I could have handled differently. And I've already dwelled in this, and I've already sat in it, and I've already, it gets to the point now where like when it comes back up, I'm like, like this again, and when I'm in a sober mind, it's no problem for me to detach myself and kind of be like, on some like fucking toga shit. Like I am not my thoughts. My thoughts are thoughts. I'm not even me. Well, when I'm drinking, I probably have more of a affliction to think negatively, and so as I'm rehashing that, it's like literally as like like if there's like a dam, and let's use that as our analogy again. If there's a dam and the dam just broke and the water being my thoughts is like I'm about to rehash this bullshit that I don't need to be. I dropped the trash out of my hand, and first when I looked at it, as I'm already kind of building up this negative shit in my mind about like and like, and then it's like, oh, of course you drop it, you fucking idiot, like you can't, like and I'm like looking down at the trash, and I realized just that, drop it. Um, drop, drop rehashing, drop it, And then I even broke that down like that's something even dogs understand, you know. Growing up, I mean, I've kind of talked about this before, but I grew up, in a pretty isolated environment. Most of my interaction at like was honestly with dogs. A lot of the time, it's either dogs or on the internet, you know. Um, so there are certain things like, I, I also I snap at people, and I don't mean like, well, no, I do mean to snap because it's an effective way of getting someone's attention. Because that's all I want. I want someone's attention, and sometimes people are like, what are you snapping at me for? And I don't even think about it. It has no negative connotation. Like if someone snaps at me, I, I don't even. That's what it's for. And maybe I'm more of a literal person than other people, but I say that to say, if you snap at a dog, you're gonna get their attention. If you say drop it to a dog, that's and I was so quick to start getting upset at myself about dropping this trash. I was so quick to, as I'm going down this rotundra that I can't escape. Um, Drop it. And I did just that. And I bent down and I picked up my trash and I left the shit that I was about to rehash in my mind, and I was fine. And so I say that to say, take a moment in your day, and before you bend down and pick up the cardboard box of the small Japanese pastry you just shoved in your face under a street light in your red Corolla underneath a street light, and um, the door doesn't seal all the way, so while you're eating the pastry, it's raining on your left side, and you're soaking wet at this point. Uh, Take a moment before you pick up that pastry, and all your anger and just look for the things that are trying to speak out to you. Look for the small things that can realign you to what exactly it is that you know maybe let's say good, or maybe let's say purpose, or maybe let's just say better than not looking for these things. I'm not sure. Sometimes people ask me, what is God, um, or one time I was speaking to this young lady, and I was kind of talking, how I do, kind of like an asshole, and I don't really know how it came up. Maybe like, what do you do, or something like that. Like, what do you do all day? So, I don't know. And I was pretty much like, hang out, journal, like play games or whatever, talk to God. That was the point I was trying to get to. Is I at some point I said I like talk to God, and she asked me, well, like, what do you mean talk to God? How do you talk to God? And when you say that, that's pretty abrupt. Whoa, talk to God? Whoa, talk to God? Not that, but um, you know, I was sitting. Uh, a lot of my time is spent on the hill outside my house, so a lot of the time I spend thinking. The stories will come from there. So back to the hill we go, folks. And um, but I was on the hill. It was after work. So after work for me would be late in the night. If I'm recording this right now at 12:49 a.m. So about 10 till 1 in the morning. I got off work no later than 2 hours ago. And so after work for me is um, it's dark outside, and I live in the Pacific Northwest, so here in the month of November, it's uh, bone-chilling cold. Not like snow cold, but it's 49 degrees. Um, everything is uh, praying for sunlight. Looks like your grandma left the sprinkler on the whole summer. Um, except now it's November and the sprinkler's still on. Uh, and where I live in a pocket that essentially runs right on the river, and then the river runs into the Pacific Ocean, and then all of that Pacific Ocean. I live in the valley, so all the Pacific Ocean cold air comes down and sits in the valley, and it's bone-chilling cold, and it's rainy. And me personally, I actually like this because this is what I find is home. But when you're in a negative mind state, it definitely doesn't help. Anyways, and I'm sitting on the hill, and I just had one of those days, man. And um, sometimes you have one of those days that you can be as gangster as you want, but life's gonna pull down your pants sometimes. I'm not talking about gangster, like gangster pant pull down. I'm talking like it's gonna pull your pants down, spank you on the ass, and then tie your belt tighter and send you on your way. And I had one of those days, and I was crying. I was crying, and I was praying, and you know, I have this inclination. I'm sure it's probably stems from like as a child, my dad told me like boys don't cry or whatever, but you know, it gets to a point when I'm that emotional where I'm kind of like this is just outrageous or whatever. So the way that I try to get out of it is just trying to express love. And so when I'm or gratitude or just trying to flip the script if you will. I don't know. But tears are rolling down my cheeks like the raindrops are rolling down the windshield, and I'm seeing which one hit the bottom first. We could say the bottom of the windshield or the bottom of my fucking jacket. It was pretty pathetic how much I was bawling, folks. Um, but it gets to the point that, I start talking to God. And by talk to God, in this regard, I mean prayer. And I'm just praying, um, just for, uh, you know, just for the strength to continue fighting on, you know, and just telling him that I'm thankful for the position I'm in, and that, essentially apologizing. That's essentially what I do when I cry. I feel so bad for showing emotion that I just have to apologize to someone. In this instance, it was, you know, God, I guess. And but towards the end of it, uh, you know, and I say all of the how to paint the picture of my night to say I live in a small retirement town, and it's late at night, about midnight at this point. Uh, Probably on a Tuesday, the middle of the week. There's no one out. Um, Essentially desolate, and you could feel really, really alone in that. And ending my prayer, um, I just I said I love you. And amidst all the darkness, all of the literal nothingness, there was nothing that could have drawn my attention away from my own mind at this time. There's no pedestrians, no kids playing on their bikes next to their moms while they're smoking cigarettes, looking for a bud to pick up behind their back. Sorry, projecting on those small children. I'm sure they're doing well. Um, I said I love you. And the moment I said I love you, a train horn blasted, going through the town, small town. And some could say, "Oh, of course that just happened," but um, that's one of those things that I feel like, or drop it. Like I feel like a dog could get that, like from nothing, at a moment when maybe I needed it most. Someone let me know that they loved me. Maybe they did it through a train horn. Um, but that was enough for me. And so then I was crying differently, but I was crying, uh, because of how beautiful it was, and I was so amazed to have I was so amazed to have witnessed that, and so grateful for that, and I'm sharing that while I'm with you. Um, I say all that to say that throughout your day, look for these things. Look for these things. And of course, maybe I could say I'm projecting onto thy listener, but at the end of the day, this is more so a vocal projection of my thoughts, rather. So it's all about me. So these messages I pass on to you are really messages I should be passing on to myself. Really because it's probably what I need to hear, but I'm working that out with you. So I figured it out through giving it to you, by giving it to me. I would assume that my message, I don't know what is going on, dude. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I lured to this, I keep saying allured. From fucking Maryland. I alluded to this last episode, uh, about, finding a path, or maybe this was in the episode not released. I apologize. Stay with me, folks. Um, so okay. If life is a dense jungle, and at every moment, through this jungle, if you're in the Amazon, you're equipped with a machete, and that machete, you're walking through trees that haven't been touched since smallpox came through that motherfucker. You don't know where you're going, but you're hacking and you're hacking and you're hacking. And if you're looking for a path, I'm not guaranteeing, but small things like this throughout your day, they can really help you. Not sure what that segment was all about. It's just something that I've been studying, or I'm a student of life. I've been studying that about maybe myself, maybe the things I'm witnessing in my life. If you have, if you've ever experienced anything like that, I would love to hear about it. Um, I'm sorry. Let me organize myself real quick, and then I've got a few more things I'd like to um, talk about with you here, folks. Um, I did mention that uh, in a few episodes prior, I mentioned that, and I don't even have anymore to show, but I mentioned that, and then I showed up. Or actually, I don't. I'm a piece of shit. Damn. Um, I mentioned that competitive Call of Duty specifically was like my favorite opiate. Like I loved playing COD, and I mentioned that I sold my PS5, um, and then I admitted that I guess I probably was sad over it without realizing it by compulsively buying alcohol. Um, Either way, um, eh, sometimes you have to sacrifice. Like I'm at this point in my life where I've been sitting and asking myself, like, I'm not really happy with the way I spend my days, and um, I feel like I'm uh, not serving myself properly, not serving, the people around me, uh, properly, and by being the best version of myself, or not even that, but just how do you say? I'm not serving myself. Okay. Well, what I mean by this, by serving myself specifically, now I have to organize this before we continue. By serving myself specifically, they say that madness is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So if I'm continuing down, I did admit that it was my favorite opiate. However, I realized that I wasn't really enjoying it anymore. The new game released, really fucking bad, by my standards. And I've already kind of been bored with this. I've been playing competitive Call of Duty now for a very long time. And old habits die hard. They die hard. They say a young man won't do anything unless he's forced, or unless he's in a position where he kind of has to, If there's not fire to the feet, he won't climb, essentially. So I'm very much habitual person, so I'm very comfortable doing the same things if they're for certain, right? And something that is always for certain is my video game console doesn't have legs. It can't get up and walk out of this room. So every single moment that I don't have something to do, I know I have something to do because I have COD. And that worked for a long time for me. I don't think it is anymore. And whether it is or isn't, Papa had to pay some bills. So, fire to the feet, I made it happen, did what I could. Old habits die hard. I'm excited to see where that takes me. I'm excited to see how I'll fill my time. I've constantly ridiculed social media throughout these entries, if you will. And my main disdain for, I don't even want to necessarily I'm going to call it instant media. My general disdain for instant media is it just like calcifies you. And I realized I was doing that with Call of Duty, and you know, kind of still feeding into the same cycle of uh well, I'll play this game because it's out and it's like fresh, but it's gonna suck, and then we'll go back to the old games and I'll play games I've been playing for 6 years now, and And that's fun. It is fun, but I don't have an ability to moderate my intake. So I'm just a gluttonous pig, and I'll spend all of my free time doing that if given the opportunity to. And I want to do different things. So feet to the fire, folks. Feet to the fire. If you're a young man, sometimes you gotta shoot yourself in the foot if you want your bench press to go up. I don't know if that makes sense. My bench press is probably 315. Um, this idea, um, folks, I've got a few more things I want to leave you with, and I have to say, I'm not sure we'll go with it. I'm not sure where we've been here, but folks, I'm so glad that you could have found your way here to join us. I'm just happy to be here. Jester's privilege is important to me. And I want to say this quickly. There is nothing more hateful than not allowing free form of thought. Because when you inhibit someone's ability to work through things in their own way, that I don't even know how to conceptualize it, but it doesn't sit right with me. So the idea behind Jester's privilege, which is the ability of the ability and the right of the jester to joke and mock freely, um, without any fear of consequence, for nothing he says seems to matter. That's important. That's important. And, you know, sure, there are experts in some fields, and maybe you should, litigiously look through and dissect their sentences and make sure that they're organized properly and they're using the correct terminology and reference pointing their sources to, and they're properly dated and in order that as to not confuse, uh, you know, sure. But I'm a common person. And I've said this again, and this idea range true. What the fuck is going on, folks? I feel like I'm living in three different dimensions. I interact on one platform. I'm gonna use the two most extremes I can think of. I interact on, or really, I don't even interact. I observe. I observe on a platform like X, and it's one entire way of looking at things. And maybe this is just my algorithms, but let's say that it's very right-brained. Just for example, just to throw out a binary here, it's very right-brained. And then I get on a platform like Reddit, and it's very left-brained. Okay, right-winged, left-winged, whatever, same shit. It's all Freudian slip. It's all different. I feel like I'm interacting with the same people, but they're different everywhere. And then I talk to people face to face, and they're completely different from everyone else. So we're all here trying to work things out, and we're trying to work them out together. And I don't think anyone has uh, an objectively correct opinion. I know mine isn't. Um, and so I hope to share that mind state onto you. Don't take yourself so serious. Be okay to fuck up, dude. Um, you know, life's a zero-sum game. So if you fuck up, that just means that somewhere down the line something great's gonna happen. Is what it is. Blame the game, not the player, baby. Um, I think another reason why maybe I have like I'm just like fuck the social media shit, fuck all this, and I'm kind of going like I don't even know how to explain it. Whatever juxtaposition I'm sitting on. Um, I grew up so far away. Like I grew up in a time where I could watch all of my friends interacting. Okay, I like any get together, any uh sleepover they may have been at, any I don't even know, like anything that kids do. If I were to be on my phone, I would have video recording of the things that I wasn't able to be at in live time, so I know that it's actively happening. It's not like I'm just like missed it and now I'm like seeing it and it's like, oh cool, I'm glad you guys had a good time. No, I know I'm missing out, and as a child that's hard to kind of rationalize, but and I have no ability to be a part of it. You know, if that school bus doesn't come up to, you know, 5 miles out, like 5 miles away from my like the place to get into the off roads to get up to my house that is so far off grid. If that school bus doesn't come, I'm kind of fucked for the day. My parents did their best, and they really did get us like try to make sure we had, but I was fucked. I was stranded in a high mountain desert, surrounded, sharing a room. Well, sharing a room with my baby sister. At certain points, like baby sister being a year younger than me, she's my little baby. But sharing a even at certain points sharing a bed with her, because what else can we do? And I'm watching I don't care to be left out. I have no problem being left out. I'm accustomed to being left out. I'm accustomed to observing and and figuring things out for myself, I guess. I don't really know where I was going with that, but um I think that's good, you know. Um I think that's good. And when I think to myself, well, how can I measure if that's good? And then I put it into categories. And let's say I put them into six main categories. I put them into physical, mental, spiritual, and then you've got relationships, career, purpose. When I think of my physical, let's just go through them. When I think of my physical, I'm my healthiest. When I think of my mental, it's if we're gonna be honest here, it's the best it's ever been in certain areas, and also struggling. Spiritual, what does that really mean? I would say it's good. I'd say I'm figuring that out. I don't really know what that means. Relationship wise, probably my weakest of the six. What are you gonna do? Career, the farthest I've ever been. That's all I can measure it by. I'm taking great strides, so that's all I can do. Purpose. I wake up every day and I do my best. I don't know what I'm here to do yet, but I'm trying, right? That's all you can do. So, I don't know, folks. We're figuring it out together. We're figuring it out together. We're starting to get to the point in the episode where all of these ideas are starting to kind of rain down on me, and I'm more so trying to put the pieces together. But, um, what else? What else? I'm gonna save this one for next time. Um, I leave this idea with you folks. You are indestructible until you're destroyed. It creates a bit of a paradox, doesn't it? True, by many metrics. You could you could argue. I think about that a lot, because there's this rhetoric of like it's so over, or I'm down so bad, or we're done. And this is the thing that I was kind of bringing up earlier, where I admire this about people that, well, I admire this trait about people that often find themselves with gambling habits is that they don't care as long as they're in the fight. And I'll tell you, folks, I'll tell you, why I don't. We've all got some chinks in our armor. You know, we've waged the wars. We've battled the tides, and you know, but we've all been through shit, and it's true that that shit probably has compiled into, you know, um, things that we really ought to drop. Um, but yeah, even just by still holding it, you're still going, aren't you? You haven't been destroyed because you're indestructible until you're destroyed. I'll be damned if I'm not still in the fight. Blessed be the mind, too small for doubt. Blessed be the mind, too small for doubt. Now, it is also important that while you're navigating these troubled waters, you know, um, things will come along, and you'll find great benefit in them. And um, if you're treading water, if you're treading water long enough, naturally, naturally a raft would be salvation. Naturally, a lone raft floating down the river, and for whatever reason you're not able to get out, you're just doomed to tread water and get out via the shores. That is, side by side. It's a river that goes on forever, and a raft floats by you. Of course, you're gonna get on the raft, um, and you'll probably find oranges and bananas on that raft, and you'll be able to take off your soggy waterlogged clothes and hang them on the mast and dry them off while you enjoy fruit and lay in the sun. What do you know? There's a water supply on this raft, and I'm not thirsty anymore, and and my tummy is no longer screaming because of the literal fruit of trees that we pass every day that was randomly on this raft. Well, your clothes dry, and the fruit runs up, and there's no more water to drink, and the river narrows. The river's starting to narrow, and you've already been in the river. You're not getting back in the fucking river. You have the raft, uh, and this thing that was salvation to you, um, is now bringing you headstrong with the current over a waterfall. And this thing that you claimed, that, I mean, you called out to God and you said, "Thank you, God. Thank you for this." And you know what? God may have even said, "You're welcome." But no one said it was an end all be all. So it's true, these things can save us, but these same things, these same things we claim salvation upon, you know, they're damned to the current the same as anything else. It's been lovely thinking with you folks. It's been lovely sharing with you. Um, Thank you for spending this time with me. And um, as I said at the beginning of the episode, I do apologize for the uh, blip in the schedule there. Um, I've made a promise to you in some of the recent videos that would say you'll see me sooner than you did last time, and I hope to do my best to uphold that this time. Um, I'm hoping now that I've removed opiates from my life, now I can fill this time that I would maybe claim um, is empty with more things I can put together and uh, put together and bestow before you for your for you. Good night. Oh wait, I didn't even stop it.